Hey guys, it is me, Dennis Nicholson here today, here to give you another video, and this video is going to be doing me talking over the Dallas Cowboys 22 NFL Draft, and basically grading each of their draft picks through the order from round 1 to round 6. So we didn't have a 7th round, we did have 9 picks, majority of them being in the 5th round. So the Cowboys did get some actual pretty good solid players, but also did hit and did have some misses with some players definitely in the later round. But I'm going to go by each player and basically give an overall grade of the draft pick, of the need that we needed. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first player that we do have going up is Tyler Smith. So a lot of people do have some mixed opinions on it. Some Cowboy fans think we reached on him, and some think that we got a solid player at the solid time. And I do tend to agree that I think from with the position that we were at pick 24, and there wasn't really a lot of. We wanted to move up, but there wasn't a lot of room to move up. Majority of the receivers in the first round, if at all, were all drafted. There wasn't really a lot of value we could have done with this pick. So considering what was on the board, and then when we didn't really want to take any risk with like players like Nakobe Dean that does have previous injury issues, we decided to settle with a potential offensive line, which has been an issue for the Cowboys as not Tyler Smith, Tyron Smith. That's going to be confusing when they do play both on the O line. Tyron Smith has been having consistent injury issues. Zach Martin is getting up there in age. Tyler Bidiaz, we don't know really his future. And obviously, we got to replace Connor Williams and certain other players. So I think some people could look at this draft pick and say this isn't a good draft. I think it's a solid B. It's not a fantastic draft pick. It's not like an A by any means. But for the position that we were in and for the player that we need, and this team obviously needs a lot of needs, not only for the offensive line, but obviously for linebacker. I think we got a solid player in Tyler Smith, and he does have a lot of potential. He was supposed to go in round 2, but I mean, there wasn't really that much value. He does have a lot of upside. He has a strong grip. He's a very good, capable run blocker, which is crucial because we have Ezekiel Elliott. There is some issues with his pass protection, which is going to be interesting to see. I don't know if he is going to be a year one starter, but that really is going to be dependent on the Cowboys, and it's going to really be dependent if he can be prepped. Some say that he isn't going to be a year one starter, and it's going to take time for him to develop. And we have had struggles with developing first round, but we've also had some progress with people like Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith, obviously Zach Martin. So we've had some success with drafting first round ballot offensive linemen. So I'm pretty confident if Tyler Smith isn't ready for this year, I still think he's going to be a solid addition to this Dallas Cowboys O line. So Sam Williams is a very interesting pick. He is called D. Williams. Um, I thought he was called Sam Williams. I guess that's a nickname for him. Um, if I did misspell his name and all that, but it seems like Williams is going to be a edge for us. He could be a potential linebacker. I don't know where we're going to exactly put him, but from the looks of it, this is a really good pick. We need linebackers or defensive help. I think Micah Parsons, as fantastic as he is, I think it would be good to obviously give Micah some help to make some more bigger impact plays. And I think Williams is that guy. Williams is 6'4", 261. He has a very splashing speed, 4.46 40-yard dash, which is fast. And looked a little bit at his film, and he just reminds me just so much of Micah. Like the way he just gets off the line to the quarterback is just so Micah Parsons esque. I'm not saying that he is going to be Micah Parsons, but he definitely is going to look like, if we develop him the right way, could be a good number 2 guy with him. And we did get him a little earlier than he was projected, but yet I'm still not mad at this pick. I think we need edge help, we need linebacker help, we need as much help as we need on the defense because we did lose some players. And to get a guy like him, to replace kind of Randy Gregory, I think he's a good fit on this team. He's very quick. He has obviously abusive speed. He's flexible. I think the only issue with him is he does have some issues with block movement, for reaching and all of that. So he does, have some issues. But I think you're going to see that in any of these players. Where there are strengths, there are weaknesses. But I think his strengths outweigh his weaknesses. And I think, with Dan Quinn, obviously here in Dallas, without shaking my desk, I still think this is a fantastic pick. And Sam Williams, or D. Williams, I don't know. I thought I saw Sam Williams. Could have been a mistake, but... Oh, it is Sam Williams, so I am correct. But I guess his nickname is D. Williams. Well, I hope he's a fantastic pick, and he seems like he is going to be. So I think, yet again, Cowboys got a very good, solid player right here that is going to really help that defense. And here we are. We're replacing... I'm not... It's kind of tough to say this is replacing Mari Cooper, but he's definitely a good, solid replacement. Cowboys have had very good history of getting third-round receivers or some mid to late-round receivers. Michael Gallup is actually one of them. I think Michael Gallup is like a fourth-round draft pick. So we've been having very good history of drafting receivers. And Jaylen Tolbert is one of those guys that, yeah, he isn't going to be, I think, a number 1 receiver. I think that is very clear. We already have our number 1 receiver. Some people argue it is CeeDee Lamb, but some argue that is Michael Gallup because we've paid him a monster contract. Either way, we already have our starting receiver, and we're not asking Jaylen Tolbert to be any number 1 receiver in any means. He has very good speed for his height, being 6'1", 194, and he has a lot of potential. We drafted him in the 3rd round, actually kind of late in the 3rd round, so we got very good value for him. And he obviously had really played against some SEC corners, and seems like he has some very good burst, really good rounding. He does have good on his routes, and he's very sharp. The issue with Jaylen Tolbert, I don't know why I said Tolbert. One of his biggest issues is drops. But that could be stuff that can be addressed during mini camp or training camp, and any of those matters. I think, some receivers will have dropping issues. And if that is the issues that we're going to have with him, that's perfectly fine. I think that's something we could fix. And, long enough that he's an efficient route runner, which it seems like. Maybe some of his deep routes could be a little bit sus at best. But it seems like he's an all-around, very good, well-balanced receiver, and that's all we really need. We already have our 2 deep threat guys in Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. I just think we need a nice complementary receiver, and Jaylen Tolbert, I think, is that guy. I think he's a nice complementary receiver with Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, and I'm feeling pretty pumped with this receiving core going into the 2022, the 2023 season. And this one is my first D. Now we're going to start seeing kind of some of definitely the iffy picks from Dallas. And Jake Ferguson is one of those. I want to preface this when I am doing this grading. I am no draft expert by any means. I'm not sitting here saying I'm a certified board draft expert. I think anyone that calls themselves a draft expert, probably have a lot more qualifications than I do. But from the look of the need and the look at the position that we got this guy, he seems a bit of a reach. And I think a reach is an understatement because this guy was not even projected to be in the 4th round. He was projected to be in the 6th, 7th round. So we literally could have probably gotten him in with our late 5th round draft pick instead of wasting a 4th that could have went maybe towards a defensive tackle. a potential safety even. I would have not been mad here if we got some safety help because that is an area of concern. I think, this pick could have been used for maybe an offensive line or maybe some other tight end that could have a lot more potential. This guy, by any means, is considered to probably be an average player or even a special team player. And granted, it is a fourth round draft pick, and we're start getting in those rounds where some of these players they're gonna be hit or miss. And I feel like Jake Ferguson, I think he'll be a solid special teamer, and he could be a good third rotational tight end. But I'm not expecting him to really have a big impact with this team. And I think there's just was so much more we could have done with this pick than really get a tight end because, I mean, we already franchise tagged Dalton Schultz. I think we re-signed Jeremy Sprinkle, if I'm correct. I might be wrong, but I feel like we already have our two tight ends, and I just don't think Jake Ferguson's going to get much playing time if I had to be completely honest with you guys. So I know some people would give this grade a C. I think this is a D draft pick due to the position where we drafted him and due to really the need. And I don't really see the need in Ferguson. Now I feel this is another draft pick that yet again is to me, and I know I stressed that we need offensive alignment, but this is another guy that's similar to Ferguson, as I just don't think he's gonna be a potential starter. At best, he might be a backup rotational tackle, maybe guard or special teams. He doesn't seem to me to have the potential to be a starter. Yet again, I hope this guy proves me wrong. I hope he does become a steal. And maybe you never know, he might become a solid right tackle. But until then, I just don't see it. And yet again, this is another guy that isn't projected into the 6th to 7th round. And I mean, I know we picked him in the 5th round. That could be nitpicky. But the same token, I don't see. I mean, besides him being 6'8", 312, and had run a solid 40-yard dash, we really don't know his bench press, if he's really strong. We don't know really, that much. And it just seems like, his weaknesses are a bit, very, very damning. I mean, it doesn't seem like he has the strength to handle a top defensive end, like a guy like Myles Garrett or a guy like Aaron Donald. I mean, I can't imagine trying to put Aaron Donald up against this guy. But yet again, this is not, I think, a guy that was meant to be a starter draft pick. Yet again, I feel like as similar to Ferguson, I think this is another guy that we are trying to complement to special teams. As yet again, we just need a need at the position and a need to fill in the roster. So I don't see this guy yet again being really anything big for the Cowboys. I expect him yet again to be another special team guy, and that's sadly really it. This is one of the maybe the most hardest grades I've ever given. I I when I really looked in depth to this guy, when I heard the name, I didn't even know who Deron Bland was. I mean, obviously, I didn't know where a lot of these guys, but at least some of these guys, I know somewhat who they are and somewhat have seen some tape. When I heard Deron Bland, I didn't even know who he was, and when I even looked more into him to kind of see what he could, what he did at the combine. I mean, I get it. Some of these guys don't get invites to the combine. But also, it's like, we don't really know a lot, and he wasn't really it doesn't look like he's that great, you know. Yet again, I know that's a bit hard, and I gave him an E plus. Originally, I gave him an E, cause like I just don't think this guy is going. If you want me to give the brutal honest, I don't even think this guy's gonna make the roster. I think like players like Martis Canaday and some other, like Kelvin Joseph and, some other guys, Reggie Robinson, I think are going to make the roster before him. I don't see a position where this guy makes the roster. I mean, and I know that seems rough and I know that seems mean, but like, we don't know much about this guy. I mean, he's 6 foot and 197, and then he had some decent statistics at Fresno State. I mean, he started the final games, 45 tackles, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups. That's great, but that's the final 9 games of his season. And it seems like he could be solid, he could be good, but yet again, I mean, his draft projection wasn't even to be a 6-7. It was going to be a priority free agent. So meaning that this guy we could have gotten if he was maybe undrafted. That's you see what I mean? It's like it's not so much. It's like, oh, I think this guy's like a horrible player. We literally could have maybe gotten this 6th-round draft pick for something else. It could have gotten planned in the free agency, and not to pay him probably as much as we're paying him as a 6th-round selection. I don't know. I hope this guy just somehow is secretly a stud. That's a long shot. I would be damned to say if this guy's even a Richard Sherman, because I know Richard Sherman was drafted in the 6th round. This guy is too unknown to really make an assessment. I can't say if he's good, but also I can't say if he's absolutely bad. It's such a interesting pick. To me, it's a pick that I just don't see that it's going to mount out to anything. I'm sorry, Cowboy fans. You may hate my grade, and it might be it's the most brutal grade of all of the draft. I'd rather be honest than lie. I just don't see this guy. I don't even see the guy making the roster. I'm just being honest. If he does, bravo to him. He proved me wrong. But that's just my assessment. This to me is the most underrated pick, and to me would be probably the most beneficial pick. Damion Clark, the name's very familiar. I actually saw him play a little bit at LSU, and he seemed pretty solid. And he did really pretty solid at the combine. He had a pretty good, 40-yard dash for his size, 6'2", 239. Not the fastest linebacker. He was projected to be the fourth in the 6th round. We got him in the mid-5th round, so we got him in the range that we wanted. And I think the reason why he dropped so much wasn't due to him not being able to, not being able to be a capable first, to maybe there. He did have a spinal fusion surgery to repair his herniated disc. So, an injury like that could be very concerning to NFL teams. But the Cowboys have gotten players. For example, another guy that went really far down the draft, due to an injury, was Jaylen Smith when he tore up his knee really badly. And we got him in the 2nd round, and he turned out not to be like a fantastic player by any means, but a solid player. And to get another guy that, to me, has the characteristics and the potential to, really has a lot of upside potential to be a really good, solid linebacker. His potential is not to maybe, be a superstar, but he will be an average starter. And that's all we ever ask for a late-round draft pick. Is we're not asking this guy to be a fantastic player, but if you can come in and fill in a rotational need when, for example, we need, Van Der Esch, due to his, incapability of potentially having, potential more injuries because of, his vulnerability to his neck, and he's been battling certain injuries like hamstrings. I think a guy like Damion Clark is perfect value. We got him at a very solid spot. He has a lot of potential. It's just the only concerning thing is his injury. So he won't obviously play for the 2022 season, but he could play for the 2023 and the 2024 season. And if he could develop pretty well and can obviously rival the starting linebacker position, I think this is a steal in the draft. And I know people could call me crazy as much, but I'm on the Damion Clark hype train. If this guy could be healthy, and if this guy can, heal, we got ourselves a solid linebacker here. And it feels great to get a linebacker because that was one of my biggest concerns of getting a linebacker. Of, sorry, not getting a linebacker, but we got very, very, very solid player. And I think, to me, he is the best player in the draft that the Cowboys. And I know people look at me crazy like that, but I mean, I just think his potential and his upside is just too much, and not give him at least a B plus. A is pushing it, but I think this guy could have a lot of potential if he could be healthy. So John Ridgway is to me a little bit of a mixed bag, but I think the good news, I will give him C potential because it seems like he has potential. If not to be a starter, he looks like he could be a good rotational defensive tackle, and that is what we need. We need help at that defensive tackle position. We have been very much lacking in the previous 2 years at D tackle. I'm not asking this guy to be fantastic by any means. I'm just asking for someone that could go in on the football field and could play football. And we got him where he was projected. He was projected to be in the 4th to 5th round. He's 6'5", 321. He didn't obviously ran anything fantastic, but the potential is there. And that's why I'm giving him a C compared to some other guys. Like, yeah, he doesn't look like the most fantastic player, but to draft a defensive tackle, and obviously there's bias in there from drafting from Arkansas, because I think Jerry is from Arkansas. So there's biasness there, but at the same token, it seems like a guy that could actually develop to potentially being a starter. In worst case scenario, he could be a number 2 D tackle to be rotating, just in case if our future starting D tackle does get tired out. So I think yet again, this is another good, value pick here. I really enjoyed this pick, and because I was kind of scared for the moment that we weren't going to get a D tackle, and we did, and I was like, okay, that's good. So we got someone that could help out our D line. So even though it is a C, I do think this is a very good pick for Dallas and could work out if the guy developed right. And this is the final pick in the draft, and it's Delvin Harper. He's another guy that I just don't really know, and I think yet again, he's one of those players that I don't think he's going to be I just looked at his, projection. I looked at his prospect grade. I looked at what he could do. He is, positioned as a linebacker, but he's another one of those players similar to Bland that I just don't think is going to really make the roster. I hope he does. He is a linebacker out of Oklahoma State, so he could, potentially make the roster. But even then, he's not going to be that top linebacker compared to a guy like Clark. I think Clark has a lot more potential than Delvin Harper, but I do hope he can make the roster. This is another one that yeah, it is a position need, but it doesn't seem like this guy's gonna make the roster, and that's how I evaluate it. I evaluate not only the potential, but I do evaluate, could this guy make the roster, and it doesn't seem that he may. Depending on obviously the debate and in the locker room. I think obviously when it comes out to it, if the Cowboys had to choose either Clark or Harper, they're going to choose Clark, even though Clark's injured. Even but the potential with Clark is a lot more there than I think it is with Devin Harper. But I hope this guy comes into the preseason, and I hope he takes the full advantage, because that's this is the preseason's always an opportunity for these guys to showcase what they are, what they got, because if you can't showcase it and if you can't show what you're worth, then they're not going to keep you there long. That's why football is a very tough sport. That's why only a certain amount of people are successful in this league. And so it is tough when I have to tell you guys who I think are going to be the good ones and who are going to be the bad ones. But at the end of the day, I want you to take this notion. As a Cowboy fan, I wish all these guys to be the best of the best. But in reality, that's not always the case. There will be people that make it to the level that they were drafted at, and there will be some that don't. And, the Cowboys have had, some players that were, obviously superstars like Zach Martin. We had some very good, solid success with Van Der Esch. Obviously, Michael Parsons has been proven. Trayvon Diggs has been proven a great pick. And then there's players like Taco Charleston that we really thought was going to be good, and he was not good. So that's why the NFL draft is such a hit or miss thing, because, you may think this guy could be good, and then he just turns out, man, yeah, he probably wasn't good in the long run. But that's what the NFL draft is for, is to try to give these young prospects a chance to prove and make a name for themselves. And I'm really excited for all these guys, to be honest. Even though I do give them harsh grades, I want what's best for them. And I hope they go out here and say, you know what, F you, Dennis, you're wrong. And I want them to do that. I want them to be angry. I want them to prove me wrong. But yeah, there's my grading for the draft. Please, if you have any comments down below, it's okay to disagree with me. And give me, who do you think was the best draft pick for the Dallas Cowboys? And this is Dennis Nicholson signing out. Peace, guys.